California Assembly Speaker Toni Atkins, good to see you again.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Peggy.
Well, now, Speaker Atkins, as you know, one of the biggest issues in San Diego right now is the new Charger Stadium. What was your role during the NFL stadium talks last week?
Well, to be honest, it was fairly minimal. The mayor invited me to join them in the discussions because I think, it's important for them to know that there is a role that the state can play in Assembly Bill 900, which already is existing legislation. And it basically says that the state recognizes that if the governor supports this project as a legacy project, that we would have the same rights that other cities with arenas, stadiums, and ballparks have had, which is basically, if an EIR is done, would have a legal exemption and a 270-day window in which any legal actions would be resolved fairly quickly.
Okay, so it gives that exemption gives an option for a quick resolve if there's going to be any challenges to that. City Council Democrats Todd Gloria, Dave Alvarez, Marty Emerald voted against that $2.1 million to be spent on an environmental impact report on the new stadium. Considering San Diego's huge infrastructure backlog, is spending $2 million on an EIR a wise use of taxpayer money?
Well, I think that is the decision of the City Council. My role is as the Assembly member and the Speaker of the Assembly in terms of legislative efforts that might be needed to support a city's bid. I think that role for the City Council is appropriately theirs. Mine is different.
Yours is focusing on the state legislature for that exemption.
Right.
I see. Let's talk about the special legislative sessions going on right now on infrastructure and healthcare. What are the goals of these special sessions?
Well, I think the issue is to talk about how we do transportation funding, because today our methodology is sort of outdated. It's based on a gas tax. California has been at the cutting edge of electric vehicles. We have more than 200,000 now in our state, which means a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. That's great. It means lower gas use by consumers. That's great. But it also means that we don't collect those taxes that are part of the gasoline at the pump, which helps us fix our roads. So we're looking at about a $60 billion deficit on road repairs on freeways. Local governments are looking at about a $78 billion deficit. So part of our discussion is going to be, how do we fund these improvements that are so greatly needed?
Yeah, and you've been actually a proponent of pushing through a different methodology of actually trying to improve roads and bridges and things like that.
Right. I think it's a dialogue that's happening already with our California Transportation Commission, but they're looking at a 3 to 5 year study. We don't have time to wait. Our roads are in disrepair. It costs us $44 billion a year. That's about $2,400 per resident in order to, our roads have caused that kind of congestion. So I think we're looking at a menu of options. This will be a discussion, a bipartisan discussion. It takes 2/3 vote, so we're going to have this discussion and figure out what we will do.
There's also discussion about Medi-Cal, which is facing a $1 billion funding gap. What's the discussion there?
Well, we have in the past used what's called a managed care organization tax, or an MCO tax. That's cost neutral to the plans because of a federal match, but it isn't enough to actually meet the need of raising reimbursement rates on Medi-Cal. So we're going to have to look at other options in addition to the MCO tax, and that is part of the discussion. And that's going to take a bipartisan effort as well, because if we levy any type of fee, that's a 2/3 vote. So you can see, in terms of the discussions we have to have, it's going to be a very busy last month in the legislature.
Some might call those fees taxes. What's the political atmosphere like in Sacramento today in talking from both parties about either these fees or taxes?
Well, I think there is a willingness to have the discussion, but I think there is a different approach from each, whether it's the Republicans or Democrats. Transportation has typically been a bipartisan effort and approach, and we have transportation advocates, business groups up and down the state who are saying we need to do this. So I think they're going to push us to actually have the dialogue discussion we need and figure out what that menu of options will be.
All right, I have to end on this. So far, no prominent Democrats have announced a run against Mayor Kevin Faulconer in next year's election. Are you going to run for San Diego mayor in 2016?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that my focus is Sacramento and supporting San Diego in Sacramento. You know, I'm the first speaker from San Diego. I'm mindful of how that has helped us in San Diego. And I think the best way that I can continue to represent San Diego is to focus on that job, get the work done that we need to get done. And that's going to take us through the end of the year.
All right. California Assembly Speaker Toni Atkins, thank you.
Thank you.